Have you ever thought to yourself, boy, I could really go for some Scooby-Doo right now, but at the same time thought, or maybe a soap opera? Well, have I got the solution for you. Hi y'all, I'm Fallen Ninja and welcome to Animation Nation, where today we're going to be talking about Scooby-Doo Mystery Incorporated that ran from 2010 to 2013. So this is going to be part 1 of 4 because we really need to talk about this. These are going to be in 13 episodes. So let's go ahead and get into it because it's going to be a bit longer than usual. Fred and Scooby are voiced by Frank Welker, who's the voice of Megatron in the Transformers that ran from 84 to 87. Fred is obsessed with traps and cares about nothing else until he realizes that he has feelings, and so that makes him not a real man. He's also completely clueless and oblivious, a typical guy. Scooby is out of character. While he's still mostly a silly Great Dane that gets into trouble, he is strangely possessive of Shaggy. It's weird. Shaggy is voiced by Matthew Lillard, who's the voice of Surge in Generator Rex. Shaggy is like the only character who remains mostly unchanged. He's also categorized as a typical guy, but we'll talk about that too. He does his best to fit into a dynamic that he just shouldn't really vibe with. Velma is voiced by Mindy Cohn, who's the voice of Velma in most of the Scooby-Doo stuff. She is somehow the funniest and the most annoying character in the show. She's controlling, unreasonable, and contentious, but her sarcasm is on point. Daphne is voiced by Grey Delisle, who's the voice of Vicky in The Fairly Odd Parents. She's obsessed with getting Fred to notice and to like her, which gets pretty irritating. Like, girl, please get it together. 1, you're way out of his league, and 2, you got mysteries to solve that kind of solve themselves. So for the plot, it's a show about mystery-solving teens who don't solve a lot of mysteries, and often need help. Mostly they run away from a monster, Fred traps the monster, or something weird happens, and then the perp admits their wrongdoing. Oh, plus also there's a bigger overarching mystery that goes on through the entire series. And we'll talk about that as we go through as well. Episode 1, Beware the Beast from Below. This episode starts off with a solved mystery. Also, the mayor and sheriff keep telling them to stay out of stuff, so it's established in the first episode that this isn't the first time that they've done this, and they've solved other mysteries before. They even mention other mysteries that they've solved. So we hear about the town's history from Velma doing a tour. The conquistadors settled here, disappeared, and then 100 years later, the Darrow family disappears. Darrow? I don't remember. Even mentions other solved mysteries like Captain Cutler, the Minor 49er, Charlie the Robot, Space Kook, and in the background there's the Creeper, a chain-rattling phantom, and the Luna Ghost. This episode also stars Velma and Shaggy's secret relationship, which isn't very secret. All of their parents disapprove of this mystery-solving phase, and it establishes that they are in high school. As far as the mystery is concerned, the monster is a slime monster. Pretty normal. He's okay. The perp is Professor Ruffalo. This is literally the first episode, and it already bothers me, because in this episode you can't figure out who actually did it because Professor Ruffalo is framing Fruitmeyer for the crime. And there is absolutely no evidence that points to him. The only thing incriminating him is being in the suit at the time that he got caught. And really, that's circumstantial at best, right? As far as the bigger mystery is concerned, Daphne finds a locket with a picture of 2 high schoolers in it. The mysterious Mr. E calls them and warns them that they've stumbled upon the curse of Crystal Cove. Episode 2, The Creeping Creatures. The beginning of this episode kind of gives us a clue about where Crystal Cove might be located, because the station wagon family mentions that they're about 3,000 miles away from where they're supposed to be, which is in New York, and wouldn't you know it, California is about 3,000 miles away from New York. So there are a few other things that suggest that Crystal Cove is in California. I don't think I talked about those, but at least not in, they might not be in these 13 episodes, but they might be later. The 1970s, 1980s station wagon might give us a clue about when the show is supposed to take place, like what year. This takes place about a month after the first mystery. Gaithersburg is 3 miles away from Crystal Cove, and the sheriff even mentions that it's not in his jurisdiction. So it's kind of confusing with the rest of the series, because if you know what I know, if you watched this series before, then you know that the curse is really just specific to Crystal Cove. So I feel like the curse should be out of Gaithersburg's jurisdiction. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't make sense that Gaithersburg is somehow involved with this when they're not really a part of Crystal Cove. Maybe it'll be clearer later after I watch it again for a third time, but we'll see. In the mystery, the monsters are the Gator people, the perps are Greedy, Greta, and Gary Gator. The gang is right about the perps, but that's probably because they're literally the only people in town. I mean, it's kind of obvious. In the bigger mystery, Mr. E sends them an alligator purse to get them to investigate this episode's mystery. And also, he steals their engine to, like, keep them from going anywhere. I mean, at least he gives it back, but that just seems kind of rude. And he tells them that this was only one piece of the puzzle. Episode 3, The Secret of the Ghost Rig. This is actually one of my favorites because you can actually solve the entire mystery by watching the episode itself. This episode mentions Fred being the future mayor, but I'm not sure that that's ever mentioned again. Like, I don't remember it being mentioned again, but we'll see as I watch it through a third time if it is mentioned again or not. As for the mystery, the monster is the ghost truck, the perp is Rung Latterton. In a bigger mystery, Mr. E gives him a CD with a hint to solve the current mystery. Again, they shouldn't need help. They've done this before. Especially if you're putting this in the same universe as the original Where Are You series, then it doesn't make sense that they need this much help. Because they've solved other mysteries before. Like, it even mentions the other mysteries that they've solved before. So they really just, they shouldn't need help. And it drives me crazy that they need help all the time. Episode 4, Revenge of the Man Crab. More soap opera-y nonsense. Daphne makes it seem like she's trying to keep her feelings for Fred to herself, but she doesn't do that in other episodes. And Velma is also trying to get Shaggy to eat healthier. See, she's super controlling. She is super toxic. She just tries to control everything about him, and we'll talk about later more toxic traits that she has. The background chase music actually fits pretty well in this one. I do enjoy that. For the mystery, the monster is the man crab, the perp is Bud Shelton, the inventor of Trickle's Trickwid. This is a pretty standard mystery. There's nothing much interesting about it. In the bigger mystery, Mr. E sends them an article of kids disappearing in Crystal Cove Caves. We learn later that Angel is cropped out of it. They make the connection between the missing kids and the locket Daphne found. They also get an 8-track with a hint for the current mystery. Episode 5, The Song of Mystery. More soap opera-y nonsense. Velma tries to get Shaggy to stop saying like all the time. She also gets him new pants that are like way too tight for him, and he can't hardly move in them. Fred mentions the team for the first time. He mentions that he can't flunk civics or he'll get kicked off. But we don't actually know what the team is at this point. Also, these kids that the perp got to help them with this mystery, them kids are violent. Like, it's crazy. For the mystery, the monster is K. Orifico, which they mispronounce the entire episode. The perp is Mary Ann. This is another one that it has a red herring, but she's not framing anybody for it, which that's pretty usual for there to be a red herring in the first place. So I appreciate that he's just a red herring, and you can actually tell in the episode that it was her, because it gives you the motive. Episode 6, The Legend of Alice May. More soap opera nonsense, but this time surrounding prom. Shaggy and Velma's 1-month anniversary. Velma wants to go to prom with him, but there's also a Vincent Van Gogh marathon that night that he wants to watch with Scooby. So Velma is essentially making him choose between her and Scooby-Doo because apparently he can't have a best friend and a girlfriend at the same time. That's apparently not allowed. See, that's super toxic. That's super, like, she is isolating him from his best friend and also kind of from their other friend group as well. It's just, it's not good. It's not good. If you're in a relationship like this, get out of it, because it's not good. Daphne takes charge of the investigation to save Fred. I do appreciate that Daphne can still handle herself when it comes down to it. As for the mystery, the monster is a ghost girl, the perp is Alice May. You can actually solve this episode by watching it, but that's because part of the bigger mystery is that this was all a setup to get a yearbook into Mystery Inc.'s hands. Ed Machine says it's time for the Curse of Crystal Cove to be solved. Episode 7, In Fear of the Phantom. This is the first Hex Girls appearance. I do wish that they would have kept their original colors. Other than that, their outfits really aren't that bad. There's more soap opera nonsense, but Daphne's song is actually pretty good. Fred begins to have feelings. Oh no, he's becoming aware. The mystery, the monster is the Phantom, the perp is Fancy Pants. This episode, Shaggy and Scooby actually basically solved this mystery because everybody else is off doing who knows what. So they're the ones who find the clues and put them together, and you can actually solve the mystery by watching this episode. Actually, Shaggy and Scooby basically solve the mystery. This is about the part where the show loses me completely. Episode 8, The Grasp of the Gnome. This is the first paranormal confrontation. They do not have a confrontation with Velma's mom. This is the first paranormal consultation with Velma's mom. Mrs. Dinkley mentions something about Velma trying to not constantly be smarter than everybody else, but she doesn't even explain most of the mysteries. Like, I did math. So as far as the actual solving of mysteries go, I determined that by who explains at the end the mystery itself. So as far as Velma explaining the mystery, she only does that 25% of the time. Fred and Daphne explain 13% of the time. Shaggy and Scooby explain 17% of the time. And the times where the perp helps them explain or explains it all together, 69%. And the mysteries where only the perp explains, 44%. So like I said, she doesn't even solve half of the mysteries. So there is absolutely no reason for this comment. At all. More soap opera nonsense. Velma tells Daphne about Shaggy, who knows exactly how she feels. This is also the first and last mention of danger-prone Daphne. I don't remember if this happens again. The mystery, the monster is the gnome, the perp is Gil Littlefoot. And again, this episode, Gil is framing his wife for the crime. And so all of the evidence points to her. But the one thing that gets me is that they don't even put that together in the show. Like, there's literally a victim who has one of her earrings in his hand upon his toxification, and Daphne even takes it. And then they don't ever do anything with it. She just has this earring for some reason and isn't being like, oh, well, who does this earring match? Maybe they're the ones who did it. No, that doesn't happen. That doesn't happen at all. They don't even put together who's being framed. It's crazy to me. The bigger mystery, they get a phone call from Mr. E about the current mystery, and he gives Velma a note saying that this has all happened before. A lot of the bigger mystery stuff towards the end of this 13 episode set is a bunch of just, honestly, it's vague nonsense. Like, obviously this has happened before because you know about it. So That's all I have to say about that. Episode 9, Battle of the Humungonauts. If they were just starting out, Mr. E's hints would seem more necessary, but they've been friends and been mysteries for a while, so they really shouldn't need help. And the more soap opera-y nonsense in here, Velma gives Shaggy an ultimatum. Just straight up an ultimatum. It's either me or Scooby. It's either me or the dog. Which is insane. Like, either give me a break or put a stake right through my heart, because that's ridiculous. For the mystery, the monster is the Humungonauts. The perps are Max and Jax Minner. This is one of those where they kind of beat you over the head with who it is, but there's still no evidence that they did it. Again, they were in the suits when they were caught. Circumstantial at best. The bigger mystery, Mr. E hijacks the radio to give them a hint about the current mystery, and he also gives them a track to give them another vague hint about the larger mystery. Episode 10, Howl of the Fright Hound. They arrested a dog. They have an asylum for criminally insane animals. Just wanted to let that sink in for a second. I kind of wish we could see more of their school life, but we only see it when it pertains to a mystery. It would probably be like way more interesting than their petty drama. For the mystery, the monster is a robotic Scooby-Doo. The perp is Jason's mom. The only clue they get this episode is a robotic leg from the robotic Scooby-Doo. And it just so happens to be just like the one Velma knows Jason can make. And the thing is I'm not sure how that implicates him in the crime, because she can probably make something not similar, but the same. I mean, if she is smarter than everybody else, then certainly she can do the same thing. So how come that doesn't implicate her? I mean, she's probably mad because of episode 9. I forgot to mention that Shaggy mentions that they should just be friends. So she's obviously mad that she got broken up with, so why isn't it her? She has a motive. Episode 11, The Secret Serum. The trap before they get any clues is crazy. More typical boy-girl stereotypes. Velma and Daphne go have like a girls' day, which leads to Fred, Shaggy, and Scooby doing most of the mystery solving. This is the first mention of them not being a team anymore. That will come up later. Mystery of the monster is a vampire. The perp is Sheila. As part of the bigger mystery, Ed Machine, I'm pretty sure it's Ed Machine, tries to give them a hint, but Daphne is just super dense. So what happens is they're having a consultation with Velma's mom again. And Daphne wanders off for some reason, and this book falls off the shelf. And she's like, oh, that's kind of weird. Maybe I'll just put this back up here, which is fair. But then the book falls off the shelf a second time. And she still goes, maybe the shelf in that one particular area is faulty. I'll just put this back up here. And then you hear Ed Machine from the back go, oh, for crying out loud. And then he pushes the book off the shelf again and goes, look at the book. And finally, Daphne gets the hint and picks up the book and looks at it. It was really funny. But seriously, how dense do you have to be like, oh, that's weird, and then just put the book back up? Episode 12, The Shrieking Madness. Mrs. Dinkley knows Richard Ellison a little too well. The gang splits up for most of the episode because they're on Darrow University's campus. Darrow? I think it's Darrow. Darrow University's campus. Velma's name-calling is super unnecessary. Literally a good portion of the gang drama is because of Velma, but Scooby doesn't really help. See, the thing is that Velma instigates it, and Scooby is only reacting to her. So it's really her causing all of this nonsense. That first victim should have died. Like, they should not have gotten up after that. The mystery, the monsters, Chargar, Gothicon, the purpose, Howard E. Roberts. And he actually explains how he did it. Because he has this thing that sends out like this shockwave and it pushes people back. And it's nonsense, but he does explain how he does it. And I also love this episode mostly because I love H.P. Hatecraft. He is like my favorite recurring character. It's wonderful. And the bigger mystery, the Darrow archive theft, did Mr. E steal it or did he happen to find it? And then he gives it to them? Mr. E mentions the contents of the trunk and says that if the original Mystery Inc. had it, maybe they would still be around. Also, why does he need someone else to solve the mystery if he knows so much about it already? Like, it kind of explains why, like, the previous Mystery Inc. wasn't able to solve the mystery the way that the Scooby-Doo gang can, but it's stupid. We'll talk about that later. I really don't understand why he needs help with this. Episode 13, When the Cicada Calls. More Velma Scooby drama, Fred and Daphne stuff. But they go on their first date. The music in this one is actually sufficiently creepy. And that second victim is super unfortunate. Cicadas in the shower? No thank you. The mystery, the monster is a cicada creature, the perp is Grandma Moonbeam. They accuse Dr. Yance halfway through just because he likes cicadas. What grounds for accusing somebody of committing a crime? In the bigger mystery, there's a note in the chips that tells them to go to the hospital. And that's about it for that. Let's talk about the animation. So there's this weird texture that I noticed in the inn in episode 2, and it happens throughout the series, and it really messes with my eyes. It's really super annoying, and I don't like it. I'm not fond of the character designs, but we learned from Be Cool Scooby-Doo that it could be worse. I don't appreciate that Daphne's eyes are the only ones without pupils, so it looks like she has these soulless, soul-stealing eyes, and if you make eye contact with her, you're done. Like, she takes your soul. The monster designs are good, they fit the vibe pretty well. I also really like the colors in the show, they fit the vibe too. It's really nice. That's actually pretty much the only good thing I have to say about this show is that I do like the animation for it. It's pretty good. So, tell me what you think of Scooby-Doo Mystery Incorporated down in the comments below. And if you have any suggestions for future videos, go ahead and leave them there too. And I will catch y'all on the flip side.